Well, thank you so much for joining us on Overflow. And if you joined us yesterday for the message, you got to enjoy our service celebrating all that we talked about on our fifth Sunday celebration and all that we've been doing during this whole season of quarantine over these last almost 3 months now that God's been doing. And so thank you so much for joining us today. We have Pastor Juno Smalley, and we have Pastor Ryan B. and myself, Pastor Ryan K. And as always, our purpose of Overflow is to sort of recap what was going on yesterday and in the service and in the message, and to talk through it a little bit further and to get into some more practical stuff of how to live this out in our daily life. So, Juno, could you just give us a little recap of what we talked about yesterday?
Yeah, we just took a look at numerous scriptures and where it talked about the idea of rejoicing. And again, we were in a unique place because our society is not in a good place, and yet we're talking about rejoicing and celebrating. And one thing we need to remember is that even throughout most of Scripture was written in a time of desperation. Things are not going well, and yet God still said to celebrate. And so I think it's not you can almost say, well, there's never a good time, because there's always stuff going on in our hearts and in our lives. And so do we celebrate? And I think we do. And yet in our current situation, there's no doubt other issues we don't want to ignore during this time.
For sure. And yeah, I think, we've been talking about that celebration service for over a month now, and what we've been wanting to do to highlight all that God's been doing in and through us at New Life during this time of quarantine and pandemic. And so I felt very torn as the service was airing yesterday, because on one hand, I felt like this is so good, and just all the stuff that God's been doing, and how our church has been coming together and serving the community and serving one another and being innovative with ministry and reaching out. And so we really want to celebrate. But at the same time, our celebration service is landing right in the middle of, national turmoil over the injustices that have been happening in our country for hundreds of years. And that just weighed heavy. And so in a sense, we wanted to celebrate what God's been doing these last few months, but we also wanted to acknowledge the pain and the hardship and the turmoil and the injustice that's going on. And so I feel like we as a staff, we as pastors, we want to take some more time to really talk through some of these injustices.
Yes.
So in lieu of our normal overflow, we are actually going to be having a special meeting tonight at 7 p.m. And so at that meeting, we're going to be talking through some next steps for our church and some vision and some things that we've been doing and kind of how we're navigating COVID-19 and coming back into our church building and such like that. But we also want to take a good amount of time to talk about our church's response, and as Christians, how do we respond to the injustices that are surfacing around our country, and how do we contribute towards kingdom principles and valuing people and caring for those who are hurting and speaking up over injustice. So we're going to be doing that tonight at 7:00. And if you would like to join that, just shoot me an email, ryank@nl-cc.org, and I'll send you the Zoom details for that. Any other thoughts on that, guys?
Even with what's going on right now, I think we could almost feel guilty for wanting to celebrate. And yet, there's a time for everything. And now is the time for us to probably pay some attention to creating, to improving, and what can we do to make life different for our diverse culture and to improve life. But let's just not forget to celebrate. It may not be huge parties, but there's ways you can affirm others and celebrate them. And I wasn't even in people's offices. No, I mean, people have been glued, at least I've been, I'll confess, have been glued to the TV and seeing what is happening around our country. And yet you go, if you're allowed to go back to your offices, it's going to be what people are talking about. And yet, so how do you bring life into a pretty sad and dismal situation? And one way is to celebrate, celebrate somebody's birthday, somebody's promotion, somebody's baby. You celebrate my birthday 2 months early. I don't care. Celebrate. Okay, did I freeze? No.
No,
No,
you're
you did not.
I'm with you. Okay, so it wasn't funny. That was it. No.
okay. Yeah. So all that to say, we would love to have you join us tonight as we talk more in depth and detail about what it looks like to respond to these injustices and how we can get involved and engaged. So send me an email if you'd like to join that. Otherwise, we'll see you next Monday at 12 o'clock. Okay. Peace.